Alrighty, time for our last couple sections in the target worksheet. We're going to look at the get. So I'm going to start with the text structure before I get to the evaluating the author's purpose, because this, first of all, we already know is going to be informed, so you can check that. But we're going to leave this for last because part of this will help you answer this. So when we're thinking about our text structure, remember that these two pieces go together. If you look back on your notes, which I hope you've been doing because, Lord, we spent a long time on those. We spent a whole class period. So if you remember your notes, these two correlate. They go together. So whatever you write in here has to match the graphic organizer you have in here. We took notes on text structures. If you don't remember those, we have all of them here. Ta-da! So for description, you have those webs where you're planning it out. Cause and effect, you have the cause going into the effects. It's the same for problem and solution. They talk about a problem, then they talk about solutions. Sequential means they go in order, and compare and contrast means they're comparing and contrasting two things. They're pretty self-explanatory. Remember that you have notes with keywords that should tell you about any of these. The only ones that I think will be confusing for you are these two, because they're so similar in the way that they're set up. But you really have to think about if it's a cause, it's something that is not able to be stopped. It's something that was not done on purpose or by accident. It's something that could not be done by a person generally. Whereas a problem is something that people have done and we need to fix. This is more along the lines of supernatural disasters. Or not supernatural, natural disasters. Supernatural disasters would be like a ghost storm. Natural disasters like Hurricane Katrina, that would be a cause and all the effects. If you talk about a problem, it might be deforestation, or it could be uniforms in school causing issue with student individuality. Like just anything that can be addressed with solutions versus looking at what happened after something else happened. Okay, you're not focusing on fixing the problem, you're just talking about what happened afterwards. So when we're thinking about Desmond Doss, so I'm still using my Real Hacksaw Ridge article. Sorry, I'm not pronouncing things great right now, but it's okay because we're all human, and I know you forgive me. So I'm trying to think about when the author wrote this article, what were they focusing on? How did they plan out their text? How did they structure their text? So when I read through the article, things that I noticed was the way they ordered the events. So there was no compare contrast. I can rule that out. They're not comparing Desmond Doss with other Army soldiers. I didn't see any of that. I can also say it's not a cause and effect because this isn't the causes of the war. This isn't the causes of what he believed in and all the effects of it. It just focused on something that he did. It's focusing on him. So it's not about what he caused. It doesn't talk about the effects of everything he did. It just talked about his adventure, his life, his time in the Army. So cause and effect is out. It's also not a problem solution because Desmond Doss's beliefs were not a problem. So I can say that's gone. They're not presenting his beliefs as if they're a problem. They're talking about why it was heroic. And then when we look at description, yes, they have a lot of description in different places. In paragraph 1, especially when they talked about the actual battle at Hacksaw Ridge, same in here. They talked about what happened during his training. They talked about his quiet, skinny kid. But did they do it in a certain order? When you read through the article, you'll notice that it goes in a certain order. It gives an introduction. It says Desmond Doss starting out in the Army, how he enrolled in the Army. It goes on to his training. Then it talks about how he was arguing with his commanding officer. Then the non-combatant law came out. Then there was Hacksaw Ridge. Then the events of Hacksaw Ridge. Then what happened afterwards. Then his award. So it's then. Whenever you think about then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, we're going to be looking at a chronological or sequential order. So when I'm filling in this piece here, I'm going to write the text structure being used in this article is chronological. Whenever you look at text structures, really, you're going to rule things out. The best way to go about text structures is to think about how did they organize it and decide how did they not organize it. You're probably going to end up stuck between two answers sometimes, like I was just now. That's okay. Talk it through. Think about how did the author organize the information? What is the main focus here? Was the focus on the description of Desmond Doss, or was it on the events that unfolded? Think about how they organized the text. So I'm going to put chronological. I know this because, remember, I want this to be a complete sentence. So when I write why I know this because the author presented the events of Doss's time in the Army in order. So that in order is what tells you that it's going to be chronological. Now, your next step after you write this out, because you're going to figure that out for your text structure, is to create a graphic organizer. Remember, it says generate and complete, meaning that you need to fill in at least parts of this graphic organizer. It's a small space, so you might not have to do the whole thing. I might ask you to flip to the back. That's right, folks. I've got a solution. You're going to write see back right here. And then on the back, you're going to make your graphic organizer. But I want a little picture so that I know what to expect. For me, the sequential order, the chronological order, is going to be these little boxes. I know that that's going to be the order, the general order. But you do have to fill it in, so I want to see it on the back. So I'm going to give you some time. This is your time to pause and do that. I'm going to be writing mine, so I will see you back here in a second. All right, we're back. So if you see the back, I had this layout. So on the back, I made my graphic organizer. I went through with all the events from the article, starting with Desmond Doss enrolls in the Army despite vow to not kill. Doss faces opposition and abuse from peers and commanding officer during training. A 1940 non-combatant law. Doss goes to Hacksaw Ridge as a medic. Doss saved 75 men at Hacksaw Ridge. President Truman awards Doss Medal of Honor in 1945. And if I wanted to, I could add that he died in 2006. I don't really need to. But it goes through his whole experience, right? It has all of the pieces, and it shows it's in order. If you make your graphic organizer and you can't find all the pieces, or the pieces are not making sense, you're probably doing the wrong one. But this one shows me, okay, I did the right thing. I did my graphic organizer. Good. So now I'm going to evaluate my author's purpose. When you think about the article, you're looking at how well did the author accomplish their purpose. So their purpose was to inform me about Doss. So when I'm thinking about this article, I think they did a pretty good job. It was interesting. They talked about all the events. They included details. Think about the text structure. Think about the text features. Did they find a way to make it interesting and easy to understand? Did they organize it well? Is it done in a way that most people could understand it? So for me, I'm going to talk about how I think they did it well. So I'm going to say first of all, what did they do well? They included keywords, not just about organization, actually. We're going to start with the text features. Keywords and we already have our purpose here, right, for that. So we can say to make the article and information easier to understand. Vinny, I'm making a video. No! Sorry, that's the cat. Easier to understand. And if I'm thinking about my organization, I'm going to say organized it in a way that allowed the reader to understand what Doss went through. Because if they had just done it with compare and contrast, we wouldn't have really focused on Doss's achievements, right? So this really focused on DOS. Your evaluation is going to be short. You don't have that much space. So just focus on 1 to 2 things they did well or something they need to work on. If, for example, I didn't like the italics, if I thought the italics were distracting, I didn't like how they had that big block at the beginning, I can talk about that. I can say that it was a distracting part of the article and it made me not understand where to start reading. Perfect. Include that. This is your opinion. There's no wrong answer except an answer that does not have evidence. So if you don't tell me why they're not doing well with informing or why they are, that's the only time I'm going to mark you off, but I need to see some explanation. So go ahead and take some time. Think about if your author wrote a really nice article, if they achieved their purpose of informing or not. And that's your last task before you come to my table. Good luck.